All right, so good morning or afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're watching this video from. My name is Mark Mucci. I live in Orlando, Florida, in the United States, where it is approximately 12:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, September 30th, 2018. I realize in some parts of the world where people are watching this video from, it is already October 1st. So again, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday, September 30th, here in Florida where I live, and I'm getting ready to go to work. I'm going to be at work for 14 hours today. It'll be very late before I get home, but I wanted to go over a couple of things real quick. I only have a few minutes to make this video and upload it so that you can watch it, but I want to take a look at this earthquake right here that happened this morning. Over on the European model, they're saying that it happened around 8 o'clock this morning. Well, 7 o'clock this morning. That's a 6.6 earthquake at a depth of 546 kilometers. So that is exactly what we look for in earthquake forecasting with the models that I use. And that is a large, deep earthquake. Very deep. Probably not a lot of people felt it, as it was far below the Earth in an area known as the asthenosphere, underneath this plate, or these plates. So this is the Pacific plate right here, and these red lines represent the plate boundaries. And so each of these areas is a separate tectonic plate, the North American plate and so on. So in the Pacific plate, over here in what area I call the Fiji Tonga region, we had a magnitude 6.6 at a depth of over 500 kilometers. Very deep, very large. And so, unfortunately, that seismic energy is going to transfer up to the surface, and then it's going to begin to transfer along these plate boundaries over the course of the next 24 hours, even up to 10 days. It will transfer that energy like water, like a wave. That energy will come up first to the surface, and it'll produce large, shallow earthquakes, similar size or larger, which means we're looking at about a 6.5 to even up to a 7.5 shallow earthquake to happen at some point, like I said, within the next 24 hours up to 10 days. More than likely it'll be within the next 36 to 72 hours. That seismic energy is going to come up to the surface and produce larger or similar size or larger shallow earthquakes at the surface where people can feel them and where damage occurs and people get hurt or killed. The energy is going to transfer in a certain kind of a semi-fixed trajectory, and that's between these plate boundaries and along faults and fractures that run across the Pacific plate and the various plates. So traditionally, I wouldn't go into a lot of detail on where I might think this goes, because I'm basing it on historical data that shows when a large deep earthquake happens here, where the next large shallow earthquakes occur. And so I'm gonna just kind of give you a general idea of where I think the next larger earthquakes are going to happen, but mostly where people should be on alert for earthquake activity. And you're not going to like it because it's not pretty. First is that energy will travel to the west, and this area obviously has really been getting rocked, and also it's going to transfer down to the south towards New Zealand and down along the ridges here. It's probably going to send some of that energy all the way across the plate up into southern Mexico, Central America, and then along the west coast of South America, down here through Ecuador, Peru, Argentina, Bolivia, and then Chile. And eventually the energy will travel down here to the South Sandwich Islands region, and then up somewhere out here in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So the seismic energy is basically going to move in all directions, not necessarily north like due north, but it will transfer west and then north along these plate boundaries. So we've already had down here towards New Zealand another semi-deep earthquake. I mean, that's a 4.7, but we're looking at 170 kilometers in depth, and so that could produce a larger shallow earthquake in and of itself. So if I was someone who lived down here towards New Zealand or the Kermadec Islands, I would be expecting a magnitude 5 to a magnitude 5.5 or larger within the next 24 hours to 72 hours, next couple of days. If I lived over here along the coasts of southern Mexico, Central America, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, I would be expecting seismic activity. Probably, based on this earthquake here, it could be magnitude 5s to 6s and possibly even a 7 somewhere on this side over in here. That pressure is going to transfer along these plate boundaries, and so the areas that haven't been hit are where you will usually see the next larger earthquake up at the surface. So we're looking down here in New Caledonia, the Vanuatu, Solomon Islands region, somewhere in here and down this way. Also in Papua New Guinea, Western Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. And then unfortunately, again, I hate to say it, but this whole area up in here, in Indonesia, East Timor, Java region, Sumatra, Western Indonesia, Taiwan, the Philippines, Mariana Islands in Guam, and again, they have a massive typhoon Trami wrecking the place right now. We don't see that on this map because this is just earthquakes, but there's a massive storm out here right now that's just doing a lot of destruction. But this area is down here in southern Hokkaido and Honshu, Japan. They all should be on alert for significant size earthquakes. They may not be big giant earthquakes like 7s or 8s, but I would look for 5 to 6s and a possible 7 or 8 magnitude earthquake within the next 24 hours up to 10 days. And that's about all that I have time to go into right now. Like I said, I've got to go to work, and I'm going to be there for at least 13 to 14 hours tonight. Over the course of the week, this energy is going to go up and through here. So in northern, you got Myanmar and Myanmar and Burma, and then up in here, Nepal, northern India. Eventually, that seismic pressure works its way up through here and up into here, and then out to the mid-Atlantic ridge. So pretty much all the seismic energy from over here in the southwestern Pacific finds its way out to the mid-Atlantic ridge, but it travels across fractures, faults, and plate boundaries, these red lines right here. So if you have time to make an earthquake plan, I would go ahead and try to do that today. I know a lot of people, again, in Indonesia, so they're sending me videos, and it's really tragic. It's hard to look at. Maybe I'll let you guys look at one of them that was sent to me. This is really, tragic. Of course, some of this is probably not, I don't know, I may not be able to play it. You see this tsunami is just wiping things out faster than people can run or get out of its way anyway. It's terrible. can't even. I'm sorry. I can't even watch that right now. I just can't do it. This is really bad what's going on with this earthquakes over in Indonesian islands over the last several months. I mean, this area, especially right in here, has just been getting hammered over and over and over again. But again, just to recap real quick before I hang it up, large, deep, magnitude 6.6 at over 500 kilometers deep is going to push up to the surface. It's going to produce a similar or larger size shallow earthquake, possibly up to a 7 or 7.5 earthquake. And that seismic energy is going to transfer to the south, to the west, to the north, and then eventually up into Kamchatka, Russia, across the Aleutian Islands, up into Alaska, and then down and to this area here. We're looking anywhere in these locations: New Zealand, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, Java, Sumatra, Indonesia, Taiwan, Mariana Islands, Guam, Japan. Anybody that lives in these areas, southern Mexico, Central America, South America. Anybody who lives along these plate boundaries, I would really get my earthquake plan in order. This is going to be a rough week, and I'm going to go ahead and try to monitor this as best as I can as it unfolds. So get your stuff together. Tell your friends. If you're alert and you're aware and you're prepared, you won't get caught off guard. If you live near water, immediately, as soon as you feel an earthquake of any significant size, especially if it's an earthquake that's taking down buildings and really shaking the ground, immediately move to higher ground, as high as you possibly can, especially in these islands here in Indonesia and the Western Pacific. The tsunamis are not a joke, although they don't always happen. If I felt an earthquake and I lived in Indonesia, as soon as I felt that earthquake, I would consider moving to higher ground as quickly as I can. I'm praying for all these people that live in this area right in here. And even though I don't know you personally, I just want you to know that I am praying for you. And I would just get a plan together. More seismic energy is coming. And it's probably going to be within the next 24 hours, up to a week or so. So get your stuff together, eyes wide open, never fear, have a plan.